Okay, so let's read. Let's just start over like we didn't read it at all yesterday. This is a whole new subject. It's not part of the flow that we had before, or it is, but it's a different subject. Shemnis Bayer Tam al Minyan Shitos. So apparently the concept which we had on the previous page, which shows the Shitos, again, I'm not sure exactly how they compiled these beginning letters. I think he gave us the formula, but back in the previous part, but I'm just too tired to start going through this. Od Sarach Lahabin Ma Tam B'Tefillin Shel Rosh Yesh Arba Shitos B'Kol Parsha. Every Parsha, all four Parshas have four rows. The Tefillin Shel Yad Yesh Sheva Shitos B'Kol Parsha. But if you go to the Tefillin Shel Yad, there's seven of them. By Indian, who the Indian is like this, the Fish of Barosh Zer Anpin Enim Mekifim Rak Arba Belvad. Avera B'Tefillin Shel Yad, but he says this rule. He said that the Tefillin Shel Yad, She HaMalchus, Yesh Bo Sheva Mekifim. They have to figure out how he got the seven Mekifim over there. Ki Arba Mochin, and he explains. Ki Arba Mochin, the Rishonim, the first four Mochim, Hein Mislavshim, he says, Benai De'ima. So you have four Mochi going into the Nai of Ima. But Niknaza Begolta the Zer Ben Kanoida. ואחר כך אלו הם נעשים בבחינת מקיפים על המוחים שלחון מקבץ, and then after that, those makifim who are squeezed into Zer Anpen, I'm not sure how this works, but they become makifim to the nekeva, those that come from Zer Anpen. Arba go so what you have here is four that are moving into three. Shehem Sheva, and he says four and three make seven. Ugnegdam ye shiva shitos b'tefillin shel yad. So this is the first thing that the Rav talks about. Basically, is how the four mochim become three or go into that, and they add into seven, and that's the reason why in the hand we have seven rows. So it's a row to let's say a pre and after moach. Let's say something like that. Let's look at the Tivah Kavanos. See what he says. He said, "Ba'ata b'vayir harab inyan naisif be'inyan kasivus tefillin." Now we'll say something else here. He said, "B'maha tanship tefillin sharosh." What's the reason when we talk about the tefillin of the head? Kosvim as kol arba haparshios. We write all four parshios. Both should be called parsha. Parsha yesh arba shuros. So we do all four of the parshios, and then each one of them will be divided into four lines. So it came Malku Atamship at Tefillin Shel Yad. So if fine, he says that's fine. What's the reason why on the Tefillin Shel Yad, Kosim Eskala Arba Parshios, we do write the four Parshios. Both of them should be called Parsha, Yesh Shiva Shuros. So every one of them, therefore, has to have seven lines. So that's what? 7 times 4 Parshios. But Tam Lazehu, so the reason for this is Kevin Tefillin shall rosh meramazim al mochin and mekifim as their anpin, because the tefillin, the head, there's a remes to the mochin mekifim that are on top of the head of their anpin. Veil mochin and mekifim is their anpin. Heim rak arba mochin. There's only four mochin there. Shehem chach bebina chasadim gevuros. L'chein kozvim kol achaz meha arba parshios. So therefore, you write one for each one of the parshios, Ba'arbashitos, but then you also make it four lines. And he says, L'rmos ala arba mochin hamakipin hana. Aval b'tefillin shel yad, but let's go over and look at the tefillin shel yad. The tefillin shel yad, shehu romes all parts of a malchus mekabelis is a mochin, the bekifim shel tefillin derek sheva bechinos, through seven different bechinos. L'chein osin remes is that. So you said, where are the seven bechinos? That's we said. Well, where are the seven? L'chein osin remes is that bezosha koisvim shevashitos b'tefillin shel yad. So apparently, so just going into this is that the concept of seven, the concept of four seems to be very important. So he says like this: Ki hare ha'arba mochin rishonim. How do we get to seven? Shehem Chachma Bina Chesed V'Gevuros. So he doesn't say like it does because that's the second stage. Shepetachila Chamochem Shehem Chug B'Chug. That's what the names of the Mochin are. Hem Arba Mochem Mekifim, and these are the Arba Mochem Mekifim. V'achakach Mochem is Lavshem B'nai De'ima. Now the Nai De'ima is only three spaces. The Sidron Hukach. Mu Chachma Mislavish B'Netzach De'ima. Chavu Chabina Mislavish B'Chod De'ima. Mu'chadas who shnei mochim with mu'chadas, which is two mochim, shehem chasadim v'gevuras mislav shem b'yisod. They go into the yisod. So you have two going into one. Nimsa shem arba mochim. So it comes out from these four mochim. Na'asim ke'esh shlosha mochim. We're making them into three. So this is talking about this concept I've seen in other places. So he said, "Na'asim ke'esh shlosha mochim." So you made four into three. That's what happens is that those two go into one kli. Yisod, the ima, which is the yisod of ima. So he says, "Ba'oven shamochim hem sheva bechinas." And now, if you look at it this way, there are 7 different bechinas here. He called them Islav Shusa Benai the Ima before they got in there. Hey Marba, Islav Shusam Hem Naasa Shlosha V'Yachtav Hem Sheva Bechina. So we're trying to understand this little. I read a little kasha that the Tiv had, and we'll look at that in a minute. And now, if you look at it in this way, and we're talking about Malchus now. We'll look at it this way, and we'll see that there are 7 different bechinos here. Hem neknasim begulgalta the zer anpin imanai the ima. So the 4 coincide the zer anpin through the 3. V'achakach eder sheva bechinos shehem arba mekifim. So there's arba mekifim b'shlosha penimim, and he calls them 4 mekifim, and now the others are penimim because they're going actually into zer anpin. Him na'asa bechinas mekifim the mochim shachol nuk. After that they become mekifim for the nuk. So the tefillin, which is the tefillin over there, which he was talking about the previous spot how the nuk is different. That we want to talk about the fact that her hairs have some kind of a talus kind of concept over there by her. Anyway, over here he says that it's going to become, this is the nukva, and she's getting these 7. Ba'ofen sha'mochim heim arba v'mislav shebesok shlosha, v'hainu arba shehem chach b'bina v'chasad gevuros, shenik nesucha v'mislav shebeshlosha v'shlosha shehem nai de'ima. They all go into the nai v'ima. V'yachtav heim olim shava. So if you count them out, then they come to the gematria of 7. So he says, now he wants to say that as far as the Malchus is concerned, the Malchus has got these, he calls them the 7 Mekifim. He wants to show you that Malchus sort of like absorbs the 2 stages. Whereas above Malchus, let's read on. The Ramos al Sheva Bechinos, Shehem Arba Bekifim B'Shlosha Penimim. So this is to tell you that there are 2 different kinds of aspects here. Shehem Arba Bekifim, the Ramos al Sheva Bechinos, 7 different aspects. Well, let me see that there is. Let me see which I wanted to look at the Tiv, the Shef at the bottom. Okay, so let's try the first one and see if I can find it. What I was thinking. He says, "Ve'inyan hu the fish of a rosh there anpen ene mekifim rak arba bilvad. Tzarach iyon shaharach tefillin na'asa la'achar sheniknesu hamochen berosh there anpen." That's the one I wanted to see. He says, "Where did the tefillin come in? They come in after." We're talking about the parshas and the tefillin. We're talking about the fact that they're coming in after. They're coming in afterwards. And then from that, so everything already is in. You have the 4 and you have the 3. Beam came Nimsiki Gam but the Tefillin Shalzah came Sheva, so there turns out that the Tefillin Zav is the same thing. Why did you count this? What I was trying to say before. Why did you fix this onto Malchus? Why wouldn't you say the same thing? I mean, first of all, it's got a sequence that's different. They want to make 7 into Malchus because it finally goes into Zeranpin, but we see that the whole concept of Tefillin only develops out of these Malchim they come into Zeranpin. So which came first? Shem Arba Malchim Mekifim, your four Mekifim, Vishlosh Malchim Slavshin, but now you show Ima, and then the Hislavshin. And then after that, they go into Zeranpin, so it all comes in, the whole bundle comes in, and it's in there anyway, and there you got the Tefillin. So why did you fix 4 over there? Why don't you fix 7? Beam came yesh bit tefillin shalza gam sheva bechina. So you have the 7 bechinas here too. Kamosha yesh sheva bechina b'malchim shalom. And he said v'tzarach iyun. So you take a look over there, see if you can figure this out. Now it seemed to me that I want to read this a little bit and try to get into it. This is a little bit complicated, I think. He said, now we're back on page Shin. And we're going to read the Rav only as to we can get to a place where we can stop so it doesn't get too thick. Shamnes boyer gam came kavana acheres over. What's this? Wow. Okay, I didn't even know I lost you. I don't know where I lost you. Are we ready to go to number Shin? To the next piece? Yes? Okay, so he says, Shamnes boyer gam came kavana acheres katana be'inyan ha-parshios shal tefillin. I want to bring out a little small idea here. Od kavana acheres katana kolelas. So this is a small one, but I guess it incorporates a lot. Be'inyan parshas tefillin shal rosh v'shal yad. So we want to talk about the 2 of them. Hinecha beparsha b'shona b'tefillin. Shall Rosh. Let's look at the first parsha, Tefillin Shal Rosh, to Kavin the Shem Ekid the Milu Yudin. Okay, so now he's bringing on a let me see. He hasn't. He seems like he must be talking about to the scribe. He named the parsha b'shana but Tefillin Shal Rosh to Kavin the Shem Ekid the Milu Yudin. So the first parsha would be written. I'm thinking he's talking about to the scribe. Of the shnia to cover the shame ekid the tefillin, and then in the second one you do the ekia the olofim, and then in the third one of the shisha the shame ekia the milu hayin, or revi is the shame adni b'melua. Now it seems like this basically we probably saw that in the section at the very beginning of this. So he says there's 4 different sections. Each one of the rows, let's say, for example, he's talking about the parshas themselves. So the parshas themselves are Kasa, Kamag, Kana, and I got that right, the Shem Ekidemi and Yan Kana, and then Adni and Melua and Amilui. The Shem Adni b'Milua. That we wrote already over here. Let's look at this. Okay, so we gotta have that idea. So they're really on the outside of the head is their anpin. But then there's another place that says like this. Tefillin shall rosh. Excuse me. The tefillin for Rosh represent this concept, Haim Ima al Bara, mother on top of her son, above her son. So first of all, he's saying that this is a contradiction. So it says one is it has the 4 mochin, and then it says it's actually the concept of Ima with her on top of her son, something like that. But the explanation is Kikol Arba Parshos Eluf, all the 4 Parshos, Haim Sod Ek Yeshubina, Shehibina. Now, we saw that in the previous, that if you forgot to put on your tefillin, make it a Begam and Neshama, which is Bina, like that, Haim Sod Ek Yeshubina. Uve'erik zeh amar t'shat tefillin. In relation to this, they say that the tefillin haim ima al bara. So again, this phrase ima al bara, which you could say that the hay is really on top of or panimi to zeranpin. I'm not sure what that means. V'od tam acher, and here's another reason. He said, "V'hu lefi she'elu arba mochim mislavshin benetzachod yisod the ima kanaitis." So those four go into the three. So I'm not sure how that all works out together. So let's see if we can learn something. Number Yud Ches. So he wants to bring all this other little kavana here. So he says, let me get this lined up. There you go. Od b'vayir harav kam atam shal kavana and this keres the ale. So the kavana that we mentioned up above, be'inyin kavana kasivas a parshas shal tefillin shal yad v'tefillah shal rosh. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. The instructions on writing them and the kavana of the sofer. Kasher kosiv es ha parsha harishona sheb'tefillah shal rosh shehi parshas kadesh yikavein oz ha sofer b'shas kasivosiv b'shem ekid milu yudin kazeh. So you should have this milu right here in mind. These are instructions to all of those thousands and millions of sofrim that are listening to the shir. Kosiv is a parsha b'shnicha sheb'tefillah shal rosh, which is v'hoya kivyacha. He said that one. Oz yesh the kavod b'shem ekid b'milu yalofim kazeh. He shows it to you. And the third row, now he's not talking about the rows. I said rows. He's talking about just the parsha itself. You go to write the parsha as a parsha shlish, the village of rows. Shehi parsha shema. He said where Oz yesh the kavod b'shem ekid b'milu hayim kazan. He shows it. Because Kosef as a parsha of Revisha, the village of rows. Shehi parsha v'hoya im shemoah. That one, you should Oz Yakavim B'Shem Adni B'Melua. Then you should look at like this. Adni B'Melua is this Milui here. Now he goes on and he says like this. Ubir Hagavonas Halalu. So let me try to explain this. He says Sha'arba Parsha Sha'at Tefillin Meramaz in the Arba Lamochim Shishay Shazer Anpin. They're really a remiss to his Mochim. Manifest out here in the Tefillin, I guess. Shehem Chachma Bina v'Chadas Kol Mishnayim. Sera b'Shem Chasad D'Das Gevurus D'Das. Now let me see. He says. Let me go on. Shat Tefillin Hem Shefa She'ima Mashpia Al Zeranpin. So this is actually the Shefa, which is what the Mochi that she's giving to Zeranpin for Kasha. But he says I see a problem here. The Hara Rabbi Ima Hibina. V'Mela Mashin is Bar Shat Tefillin. Shall Rosh aim Ima al Bara. Now, here going back into that phrase again. So now what we're explaining over here, the tefillin of the Rosh are really the concept of the mother on the son, Hainu Bina al Zer Anpin, which we can understand that. And corresponding to this, the Zohar explains, Sha'arba Pashas at tefillin, Haim Kol Ha'arba Mochim, Shehem Chochma Bina Chasad of Gevuros, below Bina Daika. So that's his kasha. He says it's not Bina, it's the Molchin of Bina. A Molchin that Bina is putting into Zeranpin. I think that's what he said. Mavura Rabba Shnei Ma'amari Hazohar Shalo Sehei Stira Benehem. So let's go over these two Maimarim in the Zohar. And he says, Shakol Arba Parshas Tefillin Shal Rosh Hamramaz in the Arba Rababakim Shazah Haim Shema Shal Milui Akia. So he says all four of them in the Tiv down below, in the Shefa, he says that there's only three of them, or how many of them are there? Haim Shema Shal Milui Akia. All four of them are that. Shehem Shema is the Bina Shehi Ima. So they're all different kinds of qualities. I guess he says names of Ima. And then the Zohar says Shahat Filim Haim Ima Al Bara. That's why it says the Ima, I guess, on top, or Benimi to her son. So let me spell it out. The four mochin of the tefillin, Haim Arba Mochim Shalazam Mekablam Mitzad Ima. that the arba mochim of Zer Anpin are what Ima is able to receive. Let me see. He says, shall Haim arba homochim shall zam mekablim me'ima, that the four mochim he gets for the yosim boim me'ima, since they come from there, leficho Haim shemel shall ekibim aloam. Okay, so since they're coming from me, Ima, they're going to be ekib. L'chein Haim nekroim Ima al bara. So that's the reason why it's the Ima on top of her son. So everything that the son has, he gets from her. But there's also another reason. They come to that concept of ima al bara. A little bit more. He says. So he said the kaven elam islam the ima. So since they're inside, they actually go into her night. So there's a part of Ima that's inside Oz. Oz al Shem halabushin. It's because now, because of the clothing that we're talking about, and the way that they're clothed, Shalachem Shem Denai the Ima, Hem Nekroim Ima al Bara. So that's the reason why they would be called that. And I guess we'll stop right here. We'll see you on the way back. Maybe. Okay, call to.